Where do the Avengers go to drink coffee? Starbucks. Thanks for stopping by my YouTube channel for this comic book editions video. And the first edition comes to you right away. It's a new addition to my wardrobe. I was looking online at some different superhero shirts, and I saw this one featuring all these Marvel ladies, and it certainly piqued my interest. I think the Enchantress is an interesting character to put on the shirt because you certainly don't see her in a lot of merchandise. I also like the fact that they've kind of mixed different decades. I see depictions of some of these Marvel ladies from the 1960s through the 1980s represented on the shirt. I kind of would have preferred to have Disco Dazzler added in here somewhere too. That's okay. And maybe the only other thing I would have changed about the shirt is instead of using a Silver Age Wasp, I would have put one of her numerous Bronze Age costumes of her wearing that, maybe a little bit more updated than the Silver Age image. That's about the only thing I would have changed on the shirt. I certainly do recognize the image of Spider-Woman and the comic book cover that they pulled that one off of because I have that in my collection. Just an interesting mix, though, of characters that I love. And I saw this shirt and I just thought, you just don't see this very often and these characters together. So I wanted to have it, and it's the latest wardrobe addition into my collection. So in this Comic Book Editions Volume 174 video today, I'm going to be sharing with you some recent back issues that I've added into my collection. By the way, if you're new to the channel and haven't subscribed yet, I certainly hope you'll do so. If you're already subscribed, thank you. I hope you'll share the channel with someone who isn't so I can get another subscriber and you can help grow my channel. At the end of this video, I'll be asking you which comic book cover is your favorite out of the ones that I'm going to be showing today. And if you have any of these in your collection or if you're hunting for any of them as well. We're going to have a lot of fun in this video and I'm ready to get it started. By looking at this cover, can you tell why I bought the Cimmerian, Hour of the Dragon, from 2022, issue number 2. You might have already been able to figure it out. It's definitely for the cover. This is a Wonder Woman homage cover. It's an homage to the Adam Hughes Wonder Woman Volume 2, issue 152 cover. And I've kind of decided I'm going to try to work on adding some Wonder Woman homage covers into my collection. I won't say that there's a whole lot of them. There's a few, though, that are a little bit more pricier, and I'm not exactly ready to pull the trigger on those yet, but the more affordable ones, for the funsies of it, I've decided to add into my collection. I haven't read this book yet, and I don't know a lot about this or the characters, although I did hear that the true Conan is one of the characters in this Hour of the Dragon storyline. I'm going to have to get with Varangian Vigilante to see what he knows or what he can fill me in about. I'm wondering if this is one of the case like how Marvel, of course, has a version of Thor, and then DC has a version of Thor, but they're not the same ones. I'm wondering if this Conan just shares the same name with the Conan the Barbarian that we're more familiar with. VV will have to fill me in on all of these details. I believe this is, and I could be screwing up her name when I pronounce this, I think this is Zendoia? That's what I think her name is on the cover here, filling in the Wonder Woman role on this homage cover. But I thought a fun book to add into the collection. Now, while I'm talking about Varangian Vigilante, Thorsten is going to be so happy with me for getting this into my collection. This is one that I've wanted for quite some time. This is Marvel Feature Volume 2, issue number 4, and this comes from 1976. Frank Thorne art. This is my favorite Frank Thorne Red Sonja image. I know that they made a statue out of this too. I just think this cover is so iconic. It's poster worthy. I love it. This came out, comic book came out, if I didn't mention, in 1976. Now I have Marvel Feature issue 1. It's Marvel Feature Volume 2, issue 1. I've had that in my collection since I was a childhood collector, which also features Red Sonja, but this is my second Marvel Feature with Red Sonja that I've added into my collection. I do enjoy these stories. This issue, which there is a lot of stuff that's going on in this issue, including Red Sonja doing some battling, and she even gets caught and she gets hung in this little town. But there's a lot of action going on in this story. This story was reprinted in one of the free comic book days. and they recolored it. I actually preferred the original coloring on here, but it's a great story nonetheless. And when I read it in that free comic book day, and I thought, well, I like the story, and I definitely like the cover, so I should try sometime to add an original into my collection. I'd like to get some more Red Sonja into my collection in the future, so hopefully I can do that. You know I love my groups. Here's an Avengers comic book. It's Avengers Volume 1, Issue 75. Now, I had the reprint version of this that I bought as a childhood collector when it was in Marvel Super Action Issue 36. That Marvel Super Action was published in 1981. This original came out in 1970, and there certainly was a price difference between 1970 and 1981. 15 cents when it was brand new. Then the Marvel Super Action was 50 cents when it was brand new. By the way, I did an Instagram post on my IG account showing both of these covers, which look pretty much exactly the same. I do remember buying the Marvel Super Action, though, because of seeing Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch on there. And I love Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver was always an interesting character to me as well. And I remember buying that, but I didn't remember a whole lot of the story because I haven't reread it in some time. So when I was paging through this story, some parts of the story started to come back to me. I do know with Quicksilver, this is the first time that he appears in his gray costume. So before, this was the exact same costume, it just was green colored. And it's the first gray appearance of this costume. Also, this cover image of Quicksilver, they statted it, which meant that they used it in other forms. It was his Marvel value stamp was the same image of him, and the same image of him was used on his Slurpee cup. We never had Slurpees or 7-Elevens near me when I was growing up, and I do remember even at the time that there were superhero Slurpee cups that you could get at 7-Elevens, and there just wasn't a 7-Eleven anywhere even remotely close to me within hours, so I lost out on those. I ended up getting a Wonder Woman one later on thanks to eBay, but you know, back in the day I would have wanted the whole set if I would have been able to have access to that. So many of my friends are collecting Avengers Volume 1 comic books. Comics for Thomas is really working on his first 100 issues, and I want to tell you something. He is slaying it. He is doing really, really good and knocking out the books that he needs. And that just inspires me to keep going in my collecting. I am collecting Avengers too. I don't always work as actively on collecting my Avengers as I would like to or as money would allow. But it is something that I try to chip away every once in a while when I do get something. To me, it seems, or when I can find something, I should say. To me, it kind of seems that I'm, more than my Avengers collecting, I'm focused more on my Justice League of America Volume 1 collecting. So kind of the DC equivalent of the Avengers. You might remember in my Comic Book Editions Volume 164 video, I went to a comic show not too far away, and I found a Justice League of America issue 10 from the Silver Age. Well, that's pretty cool. So when you buy a Justice League of America JLA issue 10, you know what you need to get then? Issue 11. And now I have. This goes back to 1962. Of course, we got the original JLA team, a creative team on this, Gardner Fox story, Mike Sekowsky artwork. So we have the Lord of Time that the JLA is battling along with the Demons 3. It's kind of a continuation of the previous issue with Felix Faust, although Felix just appears in flashbacks in this story. I didn't put this in my JLA haul video because those videos that I've been doing are books that I picked up from fellow YouTuber and my friend, Silver Age Dave. And I do have another JLA haul video, my final one, part 4 of 4 of this massive JLA haul that I bought from Silver Age Dave. I've been sharing those videos once a month on my channel. And the final addition to that will probably come out on my channel next week. So I'm excited to share that with you. But it's nice to have another Silver Age early JLA book in my collection. And when you buy JLA issue 10, which causes you to buy JLA issue 11, well, then you buy JLA issue 12. That's what you do. I actually turned to eBay for this, and I haven't been doing a lot of eBaying lately, but I've been watching this book for quite some time, and I had a feeling I was going to pull the trigger on this particular issue sooner than later. This is the first appearance of Dr. Light, and it's picked up a little bit of value because of that first appearance. This was an interesting story, as a lot of Silver Age DCs can be. One thing that I picked up in this story, Dr. Light, he's trying to deduce how he's going to attack the Justice League. And one of his reasonings is, well, Aquaman is the only JLA member who doesn't have a secret identity, so I'll start with him. And I thought, pretending that this is real life, I'm like, why would the JLA ever release information like that? How would a villain know that? They shouldn't know that. And then another interesting story, because it's just wonky, Silver Age DC. The story ends up taking place on April Fool's, which is how Snapper Carr, the JLA mascot essentially, is able to help them defeat Dr. Light, or knew that the superhero is going to prevail because he was attacking them on April 1st on April Fool's Day. So it's a very weird excuse, but you got to consider the times here. We're talking 1962 for this book, and for the previous book too, was the years that those were published. As I said, first appearance of Dr. Light. Dr. Light's second appearance would happen in a Silver Age Atom comic book. I think that was Atom issue 8, if I'm remembering correctly. Anyway, I do have that comic book in my collection. It was actually a top 12 goal list of mine a few years back. And if you remember my comic book editions volume 107 video, you saw me show that to you, that I added it into my collection. Now we'll fast forward about 100 issues or so. One more JLA I want to share in today's video, which is Justice League of America Volume 1, Issue 113. We're at 1974 now. We have a JLA JSA team up, as they always did yearly in the title. So there's one original story, and then there's 2 reprint stories behind it. That's kind of how they were doing in these 100-page giants at the time. The reprint stories is, one is from All-Star Comics issue 41 from the Golden Age, and then a Silver Age Justice League of America Volume 1, Issue 16 reprint is in here. Nick Cardy cover. The one thing in this era, when they were doing all these 100 pages JLA books, I get very confused at these covers. Confused as if, do I need it? Do I already have it? The covers just looks, all the covers are very busy like this, with all these different panels and stuff going on. I think that's what leads to some confusion for me. And I think there's only one more from this time frame that I need. But even off the top of my head, I can't even tell you what that cover looks like, because I mistake it for so many other different covers. They just seem to run together to me. And it was like maybe 5 or 6 issue run here where all the covers are busy like this, and they're all 100-page giants. So, but one thing I'm happy to say, and I'm going to announce this in detail in my final JLA haul video, which, like I said, will probably come next week on my channel. I have a plan in place for the future of my Justice League of America collection, and I'll share that with you next week. But I think I've got a good solid plan on how to be able to complete the collection in the next few years. You got to remember, this is a big run, so I'm still happy to knock out another one, but I still have a little ways to go. Rima the Jungle Girl. This is issue number 7. This is also the final issue of the series. I have about half the issues, and Rima the Jungle Girl isn't a title that I see very much out in the wild, and I don't see it, at least I don't, regionally at comic shows or anything. I don't think titles like Rima and Isis and stuff like that, I don't think the sellers bring to shows, because nobody's looking for these really. So I got about half of them. I need to get the rest. Joe Kubert artwork here, good stories. This was interesting too. So there's like this bratty little kid that's out in the jungle, and he's essentially attacking the animals in the jungle. At one time, he starts a fire, which very well could destroy a big majority of the jungle and some of the animals that live in that area. So Rima takes him and his family, and they're able to escape into the water. And then this little boy is attacked by a crocodile. And, the mother yells, "Rima, help him." And she goes, "No, I can't." And then in the next panel, apparently he died from that crocodile bite, because in the next panel, they realize that he was the one who set the fire on there. And they say, in a way, he's the one who caused his own death. So So I thought, oh, that's kind of an interesting story to see the superhero kind of go, no, the kid's going to get what he deserves on that one. Although, does he deserve that? I don't know. Just an interesting, like, you wouldn't see that depicted like that these days. Rima made a couple appearances in the SuperFriends animated cartoon. If you remember those, that's how I first became aware of the character. She never interacts really with any of the other DC universe in this title. But still a fun book, definitely my wheelhouse. I want to show you a couple recent Wonder Woman incentive covers. Issue 3 has been out now. It's still the current issue. This is the 1 in 25 incentive cover. This, I think, issue 3 was my favorite so far out of the Tom King Wonder Woman run. And I definitely had the feeling, and let me know if you agree with me or if you disagree with me, but they essentially reveal that the renegade Amazon, Emily, is pregnant. So I imagine that Trinity isn't so much Wonder Woman's biological daughter as something will happen to Emily after she gives birth, and Wonder Woman will raise this baby, and that's how it's become her daughter. That's at least the vibe that I got from reading this story. Now, if you got I talked to one of my friends who didn't get that vibe at all, but I'd love to know what you thought of it as well. And then there is, speaking of Trinity, who is on the cover of that one, there's a little character design as the 1 in 50 incentive cover for Wonder Woman, Volume 6, Issue number 3. I didn't know until I was putting these books into my CLZ that there actually are some exclusives. Someone had exclusive covers for this issue, and I didn't even know it. So I've ordered those, and you will see those next year, probably in my next update after the holidays. When I start looking at some of the recent Wonder Woman incentive covers that I've added into my collection, you'll see the retailer exclusives. It's just really one image. There's the regular, there's the Virgin, and then there's a foil version of the Virgin cover. But those will be coming in the future on my channel as well. What did you think of the books that I showed today? I would love to know. As I said, leave me a comment below. I love dialoguing with you. Your comments are welcomed, encouraged, and appreciated. My back issue of the week YouTube short is out. It's episode 101. We've already done 100 of these. Now we're on 101. The one that I featured this week is the oldest X-Men Volume 1 comic book in my collection. You have to watch it if you haven't already to see which issue it is and learn a little bit more about it. It's a key issue for a couple reasons, and I discuss those reasons as well in there. Fanboys Live and the Retro Review on my YouTube channel this upcoming weekend, along with Comic Food 2814 and Signature King Tony Fett. We look forward to seeing you joining us for the Fanboy Show live if you can, because it's great to interact with you. If not, in the rewind. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this Comic Book Editions video. Enjoyed spending some more time with you, and I look forward to catching you next week. Have a safe, healthy, and successful week, and I will catch you soon. Take care.